On the Vince Everett Ellison Show, we're going to ask the question, has the white Anglo-Saxon male lost his swagger? Yeah, we're going to probe into that a little bit today. So join me on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, let's get this thing started. Okay, y'all, this is going to be an open letter to my white Christian male friends. Because seems like to me, too many of y'all have just lost that swagger that you used to have. I mean, I grew up watching Westerns and John Wayne and Steve McQueen and Robert Redford and Sylvester Stallone, Cary Grant, Humphrey Bogart, Marlon Brando, Gary Cooper, these tough white men, right? They take no crap. You always kind of had good and evil. You know which side was good and you knew which side was evil. And I watched, Jim Brown, hard black men, just like these white men. They were just tough guys, right? Richard Roundtree and, Isaac Hayes and then Bruce Lee and Jim Kelly. These were men. Masculine, tough men. Now I turn around and I look on television. I say, man, you know what? Where the estrogen at? Are these men wearing bras and panties or what? I look on the TV, I'm seeing Johnny Depp trying to play a tough guy, Jared Leto trying to play a tough guy, Jacob Sudeikis and Paul Rudd trying to play superheroes, and Trevor Noah. And then you even got, trying to make Brad Pitt look tough. And you say, okay, good luck. These soy back girly men, and they've taken what was once a very masculine, tough, mentally and physically tough male, and they made men feel bad about being that model. One of the things people like about Donald Trump is that they remind him of that old throwback American. He's damn near 80 years old. That's why he reminded them of it. Because that's how they were back in those days. My dad's that way. Him and Donald Trump's not far apart when it comes to age. These men were just who they were. These were the men of D-Day that on June 6, 1944, invaded Europe, came across the English Channel, knew that the Germans were going to be there with machine guns and cannons and tanks to kill them. And each one of those boys ran on that beach. And neither one of them ran backward. Those were the men. I'm here in Bedford right now, and we have the D-Day Memorial here. And it's here because Bedford County per capita had more men die on D-Day than any other place in the United States of America. And they put the D-Day Memorial here because of the Bedford boys. All those boys ran on those beaches and got shot, got killed for their country. And you ask the question now, would we have the moxie to do such a thing if it was called for and if it was needed? Hell, man, we couldn't beat Afghanistan in 20 years, a bunch of daggum rock throwers. Everybody's saying that we can't go to war with Iran because we lose. We spend $1 trillion a year on our military, but Iran might spend, I don't know, man, if anything, maybe less than 100 million, and we couldn't beat them in a war. 100 million, they might not spend 50 million. Well, I know what you're saying. Those white men were racist. Those white men were misogynists. Those white men hung black men from trees and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Let me make one thing perfectly clear to you about all of this right here. Tell you something about human nature. This is why the Second Amendment is so important. And all you people always try to fight against it. You got to get your head straight on this. Slavery has nothing to do with color. It has everything to do with who is vulnerable and who is weak. Because if you're vulnerable and weak, you'll be overtaken by the strong. It's just that simple. Black, white, don't matter. If you are weak, you'll be overtaken by the strong. Let me give you an example, since you always want to talk about slavery and this and that and the other. You ever heard of a place called Chub Town? At Chub Town, it's a town in Georgia. Let me tell you about Chub Town. I was watching football one night, about 3 years ago. And I was watching the Cleveland Browns play somebody. And they were showing the players. And they showed this young man, his name was Nick Chubb. And he had his helmet off. And it was interesting. Also, I noticed Nick Chubb, and Nick didn't have any earrings in his ears. Nick didn't have any gold on. Nick didn't have any tats. And Nick had been an All-American at Georgia. I mean, Nick was an NFL running back, and a good one. And usually, you know, the NFL guys, they're always kind of ostentatious. They tatted up. They got crazy hair. And Chubb had this nice conservative short hairstyle and none of the accoutrements that all the other NFL players had. And he caught my attention. I said, Nick Chubb, who is this guy? So I Googled him, and they said that Nick Chubb was born in Chub Town. I said, Chub Town? What is Chub Town? So I Googled Chub Town. Chub Town was a town that was created by the Chubb brothers. I believe it was 7 of them. I could have that wrong, but it was around 7 or 8, but I think it was 7. They were free black men in Georgia. And they had their wives and their families. They bought land. They farmed. They made coffins. They made molasses, and they sold what they made to the white people around them. And the Chubb brothers didn't play. They were free men. They were armed. They had their own land. They had their own town. And they defended themselves. And guess what? The white folks in Georgia didn't mess with the Chubb brothers. They respected them. They traded with them. The Chubb brothers were so respected that when Sherman came down to destroy and burn Atlanta to the ground and Savannah to the ground, he came across Chub Town. And the Chubb brothers saw the Union Army coming. And they went out and they stopped General Sherman's army before it got to Chub Town. And they parleyed with him and told Sherman who they were. And Sherman went around Chub Town and did not touch it and destroyed everything else that he came in contact with.
When people ask me what Chubbtown is, I just tell them it's a place where my ancestors started. They were freed slaves, and they pretty much had their own sufficient town. And just tell them like the whole history behind it and what it means to me. Back then they had like their own fire station. They had, the church is still there. That creek, my dad used to always say he used to play in the creek all the time. The church is still there, the cemetery is there. You just feel the history when you step foot. My dad used to always talk about it growing up, but I never believed him because I was like, you don't have a city named that. Why you know what I'm saying? I just thought he was just talking junk. And then I remember we went to go see it in high school, and I was just blown away really because, I mean, it's not much there, but it's so much history there. You see all the brothers who were there that founded it. We went there again, unfortunately, when my granddad passed, and he was buried in Chubbtown as well. So, I mean, it's definitely a meaningful piece to have him buried there because that's somebody, besides my dad, that I looked up to a lot. I had a lot of conversations with my grandfather, and when he passed away, it was definitely hard for me, my brother, and my dad. So having him in that sacred space, I feel like is very very good. A lot of my identity is intertwined into Chubbtown because my dad he raised us off the principles that those same founding fathers had, and I feel like that shaped me and my brother to the men we are today. I feel like we have a very unique name, a very unique background. It's just to have more people interested, have more people knowing where we came from and how we were raised. I feel like using this platform to do that is going to be amazing.
Now, isn't that a story? But you never heard it, did you? You know why? Because they want you to think you will never, ever have an option here in America. Everybody hates you. Everybody's a racist. That if you stand up as a strong man, you still going to not have a fair shake. That is a lie. The strong white men in America always respected the strong black men and Native American men and Hispanic men that they came in contact with. It was always mano a mano, man against man. But if you were weak, they'd stomp your behind in the ground. It was social Darwinism on steroids here in America, y'all. You better believe that. So when these Europeans would come all the way from Europe and spend their last dime to cross the Atlantic Ocean, to come to a country whose language they don't know, to come here and work and say, I will never go back to my homeland ever again. You had to believe they were some type of tough. Even when it came down to the fight of freedom, we still see it differently than many of the white men and the free black men that fought like during the American Revolution. It's a story that I heard. It's quite arresting. That kind of explained to me how the men that fought for their freedom saw the men that would not fight for their freedom. George Washington had been in the wilderness fighting for America's freedom for 7 years. 7 years away from home, his best years. He had his manservant with him, who was with him for the whole duration of the times, a black man. Legend has it that this black man had saved George Washington's life at least 5 times. And when they came back to Mount Vernon, George Washington gave this black man his freedom. Black man asked George Washington, what about the other slaves that worked on Mount Vernon? Why weren't they set free? And George Washington basically looked at him tersely and said, because they did not fight for it. During the American Revolution, the British put out a decree saying, if you come fight for us, at the end of the war, you get your freedom. The Americans did the same thing. Fight and get your freedom. And these slaves decided to stay on the plantation and work. They decided to be slaves. What did I tell you? Slavery is a choice. Let them stay where they decided. And he looked at them with utter contempt. End of the Civil War. The Confederates have been gone fighting in the Civil War for almost 5 years. All the white men going up the plantations fighting in the wars for over 5 years. The slaves are on the plantation with the women and the children and the very old men. They could have left anytime they wanted to. They could have fought anytime they wanted to. But the Confederate men, the young, strong men between the ages of maybe 16 and 50, they were gone fighting. Civil War ends at Appomattox. All the Confederate men that are still alive come back home. Many of them that survived got the legs cut off and eye out and one of the arms gone. I mean, they're in bad shape. They stumble back home and they look, and there's old John, who the last time they saw him was picking cotton, is out in the field cutting the jig, talking about he free. Didn't fight for it. Didn't shed any blood for it. And these men held these slaves in utter contempt, and that's where the red shirts and the Ku Klux Klan came from. Not saying that I justify that. I'm saying that if you're going to be free, you better get a gun. And you better be willing to fight and kill for your freedom. And that's how you earn their respect. I remember reading about the Mayflower, man, how these yokels suffered to get over here to America. I watched 2 great documentaries by Ken Burns. I suggest you watch them. One is called The West. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It tells you what these guys did to cut across all the way to California and to Oregon. And you hear some of those stories about people dying of dysentery and Indians trying to kill them and Indians killing them. It's just amazing what these people did to carve out an existence in the United States of America. And you look at the way most black folk have gone about it, going to government, demanding government put a gun to the heads of white people. And then they are amazed they don't have the respect of these men whose respect they desire. All the respect can be gotten. My father has it. Hell, I have it. My brothers have it. But it's earned. I remember watching the movie The Patriot by Mel Gibson. Great movie. It was about the American Revolution and about the goings-on in South Carolina. Mel Gibson played this hodgepodge of characters. I think it was Thomas Sumter, Francis Marion, and one other. But it showed that there was a slave. A white man had given his slave over to fight in his stead. And the slave was only supposed to have fought for a year. But he was in all these battles with these guys, all these battles with these white men. And a lot of them, at the beginning, these white men didn't like him. And he just kind of stood, he didn't march, he didn't cry, he didn't complain. He didn't let them put their hands on him. And after he fought bravely in so many battles, after he saved so many of their lives in certain battles, after they saw him stand strong like they stood strong, at the end, they shook his hand. He had earned their respect. And once he earned it, he kept it forever. This is something that many of us are not willing to do. We're not willing to earn it. And right now, we have so many weak, not just cowardly black men, but now the white establishment has turned cowardly also because they've fallen for this lie that they have to, this lie of white guilt, this lie of white wokeness that says you have to give up some of your privilege, this lie of white privilege that says that you have to give up some of your privilege in order for me to compete. Well, back in the day, the white man said, no, I ain't giving up a thing. If he wants my respect, he's got to come up to my level. I'm not coming down to his. And that's why we also became men. Black men did the same. You got to come up to my level. I'm not coming down to yours. Now they tricked white male society in America into coming down. Isn't that sad? Black men telling white men, you got to come down to my level. I will. Boy, that's making me mad just thinking about it. And white men thinking that there's some type of virtue in them coming down. We can't be as good as we used to be because we got to make black men feel better about themselves, so we got to pull ourselves down. We got to give up some of our privilege. And y'all falling for that. Let me tell you something, I'm going to make this perfectly clear. I don't need a government program to compete with either one of you. I don't need a government program to compete with anyone. If you even say, Vince, we're going to give you a government program because we don't think that you are able to compete, you're going to see me pistol whip your ass. No. I don't need your handout, player. I don't need your help. I don't even need you to get out of my way because I'm going to knock you out of my way. Instead, marching, begging, sweating, and everybody says, you got to pull yourself down. You got to stop being so mean. You got to be so hard. And now look at America. It's become a weak nation that's dying. And now we got Donald Trump up there, and people are just so amazed that Donald Trump is such a tough guy. Well, hell is how man's supposed to be. We had Joe Biden, 12 years of Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Boy, that sure is sad. Out of 16 years, Joe Biden and Barack Obama took up 12 of them. We had 8 years of Bush before that, and George W. Bush, I love him to death, but he just was so events just stayed on George W. Bush. And the World Trade Center exploded. Then we had Katrina, and then we had the Iran-Iraq war. Just all kind of ignorant stuff going on, man. Well, I'm sorry, not Iran-Iraq, the war in Iraq, then Afghanistan. Just stupid stuff going. And then we had the housing crisis. So it's hard to measure the presidency of George W. Bush because George W. Bush was just inundated with events, bad stuff, all the way through. And by the time George Bush left, everybody was just exhausted. Barack comes in with his lip rested behind, lying to everybody. By the time he left, everybody saw he was a no-good lying swindler. Then we elect Trump. Trump comes in. It's doing great until COVID. And then the Democrats allegedly steal the election in 2020. And then we get 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I'm telling you, you think Jimmy Carter had a bad presidency. These suckers had the worst presidency of any presidency in history. I think that James Buchanan's presidency, 1856 to 1960, that started the Civil War, was the only presidency that was worse than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Yeah, the presidency that started the Civil War, James Buchanan, 15th president. It was him, and then it was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And we brought Trump back. So y'all, for almost about 25 years, not since Ronald Reagan have we really seen what true leadership and true manhood in America really looks like. And that is a shame. That is really, really a shame. So now we got Donald Trump back in. He's an older version of himself. I think that he's going to put America back on track because we've gotten too weak. And the irony here is that a black man stands before you, a descendant of slaves, born on a cotton plantation in Haywood County, Tennessee, whose father was a sharecropper. And I'm looking at white men in America and telling you, you got to get your swag back, brother. I'm here chastising you. Y'all got them just too damn weak. God. Crying, boo-hooing. I mean, woke, transgenders in the military, voting for people that will allow demented men to go into the bathroom with your wives and your daughter and watch them urinate. Vote for a guy that says, I'm going to let a man go to the bathroom with your wife, your daughter, and your mama. And you say, oh, that's all right with me. Damn, man, where your manhood at? He couldn't get there without white men. We know a bunch of black men voting for him, but that's why I'm saying, good God, man, the white man losing his swag too. Get it back, man. Gonna vote for a dude. Gonna vote for a man or a woman that says that I'm gonna allow a grown man to participate in sports with your daughter in high school. You gonna say, well, I'll vote for that. Gonna vote for a man that says, I'm going to allow another boy to use the locker room of your daughter in school. So that if he uses the locker room, that means he showers in the locker room with your daughter. And you say, I'll vote for that. Your little daughter trying to take a shower, he in there just flipping and flopping all over the place looking at her. And you don't have a problem with it. Where your manhood at? Come on now, White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Man, the wasp, what the hell they done to y'all? I mean, we've always had this problem with cowardliness inside the black male community. I mean, it's always been a problem with me. I ain't never liked these black male cowards. I got no time for them. And I got black brothers and black brothers-in-laws, and ain't none of them jokers cowards, man. They hard. But any sorry-back man ain't got no time for now. Voting for the Democratic Party, walking around men in dresses. Rachel Levine, Sam Britton, Pete Buttigieg, married to another dude. You guys have lost your swag. You've lost your manhood. You've lost your belief in Jesus Christ. Hell, you've lost what it is to be an American. You know, I've always seen these movies when I was growing up. And almost every one I saw was one about black folks getting mistreated by white folks. Now, you can watch one now. The last black movie that got an Academy Award was 12 Years a Slave. Boy, that sucker was rough. I couldn't watch all that movie, man. It was too bad. Boy, they was whooping black folks all through that movie, just beating the hell out of men, just falling out. I mean, just... terrible movie. And I saw that movie, The Butler. And again, white folks beating up black folks, slapping them around. I think they got a few more coming out about black folks being mistreated by white folks. They keep that same old thing going. Got this movie now, I forget the name of it. Got these women in the military, World War II. They mistreated by white folks. It's just this common thing in America that black people are weak, white people are low down and dirty, and that white folks are going to have to ease up from being low down and dirty in order to make black people feel good about themselves. And you got too many white people buying into that lie. All black people aren't weak, and all white folks are not low down and dirty. Believe me when I tell you, they're gassing you up when they tell you that you are supreme and superior. You're not, I'm not. But we have to believe who we are. We are Americans. We are the people that carved out the wilderness. We are the people that dammed the rivers. We're the people that beat the Nazis. We're the people that ended slavery. We're the people that saved the world. 2 times World War I, World War II, we saved it. We split the atom. We started the Industrial Revolution. We put a man on the moon. And everybody that looks around at America and says that America is a racist nation, you got to be crazy. You know why? Why we got to keep up a wall to keep dark-skinned people out of it? The only people that think America is racist is guess who? Stupid black Democrats. White liberals know America's not racist. They just say that to make black Democrats vote for them. And they fall for it. My people, I'm here to tell my white Anglo-Saxon Protestants that the liberals have been trying to destroy you, but they destroyed you mentally more than they destroyed you physically. You are their enemy. The white Anglo-Saxon Protestant male is the thing that they must destroy in America. And I just think that it's I just think it's just a Protestant male now, because that's what I am. Any Protestant male that is strong, any Protestant male that stands for Jesus Christ, any Protestant male that says, no, 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 I don't accept your definition that gender is fluid, that you can have any pronoun you want, that you dictate what happens between my children and my family. It's time for us to stand up and describe what masculinity is again. And we're going to be doing more of that on this channel. So you tune in. You know why? Because I'm here to wake you up. Hope I did you some good today. So join me again tomorrow for another Vince Everett Ellison show. All right, friends, Vince Everett Ellison is here. I want you to go to my website. And on my website, you're going to see a lot of great stuff, man. You're going to see that we got t-shirts, we got caps. You got my books, my documentaries. You got all kinds of stuff on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Go there. We're dropping new t-shirts. We're dropping new merchandise. My new book, The End of Tolerance, is there. The End of Tolerance. Make sure you get it. Make it #1. If you got my first 3, get The End of Tolerance. It's just as good. And it's telling us we have to end our tolerance with these leftists, these Democrats. We can no longer allow them to sexually groom our children. We can no longer allow them to castrate little boys and call them little girls, run God out of the public square, take away our guns, take away our sovereignty. No longer allow it. So go on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. That is VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Hit merchandise. You'll see the t-shirts. You'll see the caps. You'll see the books. You'll see the documentaries. You'll see it all. And let's keep this ball rolling. God bless you.